All right, my friends. It's actually one friend. All right, my friend. Here we go. We're going to be doing Siman 276, laws pertaining to a light kindled by a non-Jew on Shabbos. Nachri shehidlik saner. We're going straight to the Alter Rebbe. Nachri shehidlik saner b'shvil Yisrael. If a non-Jew lit a candle for a Jew, also no person, not that Jew or any other Jew, is allowed to benefit from its light on Shabbos. Even somebody for whom it was not lit. The sages were strict about it. Because a Torah level prohibition was done for a Jew on Shabbos. Similarly, if he lit a fire for heating for the Jewish people, for any Jew, I mean, no Jewish person is allowed to heat himself by that fire on Shabbos. Even if the goy intends for his own good, for example, you gave him a fixed amount for every day that he lights a candle for him, or he lights a fire for him to warm himself. Or you made an arrangement that every time he lights it, every time he lights it or starts up the fireplace, he gets a payment. But and you didn't tell him to do it on Shabbos. He's doing it for his own purpose of getting rewarded. So basically, you know the laws of Shabbos, and you know that you're not allowed to ask him to do it on Shabbos, and you know that a worker who gets paid is generally not allowed to work for you. So instead, you made him a kindled. You're paying him by the job. You tell him, anytime you pass my house, you see it's dark, you come in, you light the candle, or you see it's cold and you start up the fireplace, anytime I give you $10. And you don't say a word about Shabbos. And he comes, usually during the week, he comes and he sees it's already lit, he doesn't do it. If he happens to do it during the week, you pay him. He does it on Shabbos, you pay him. So he's a kindled. You didn't tell him to do it on Shabbos. So big deal. Ooh, Yoram, I forgot to email him. I used to email him.
Really? Sorry, which is in chapter?
276. Neil is here. Yaakov is here. Let me invite Yoram.
Did you start with Aleph already?
I'm sorry?
Did you start Aleph already?
I did start Aleph, yes. I started Aleph. What I said so far in Aleph is, if any Gentile lights a candle or a fireplace for any Jew, no Jew may benefit from that.
Okay.
On Shabbos, even what I'm saying now is, even if he did it as a kindled, that means you're paying him per job, and you never told him to do it on Shabbos. He came on his own and he did it on Shabbos. You're still not allowed to benefit from that fire. And now we're explaining why. Yes. If you're in a room, what? I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
And Goy comes and
we're going to learn.
You have to get out of the room.
We're going to learn about that right now, actually. Still, you're not allowed to benefit from his work on Shabbos. Here's the thing, my friends. 276. Reish Ayin Vav. Since the body of the Jew is benefiting from the actual work, the main malacha is being done on Shabbos for the Jew. The Gentile is not benefiting from the malacha itself, but Aleph, exactly, but rather from the reward. And he's doing it for the Jew to benefit on Shabbos. So his intention is for the Jew to benefit on Shabbos. There's a xer that you might tell him to do it on Shabbos for his pleasure. If you'll be able to benefit from it when his main intent is for the benefit of the Jew. Okay, one more time. The goy also benefits because he's getting paid. He's a kabbalah, he benefits. But the Jew benefits directly. He gets to read, gets the heat. So when the goy sees that he's doing it for somebody else to get immediate pleasure, his intention when he does it is to give the guy that pleasure. Of course, he knows he's getting paid, but that payment is more distant. And even though he knows he's getting it, and that's probably his primary reason why he's doing it, he's not lighting fires for people, but nevertheless, at the moment that he's doing it to please the Jew. So therefore, because that pleasure is more direct, and his intention is therefore more towards the Jew, if we would allow the Jew to benefit, then we are afraid that the Jew might ask him to do it. Again, here the Jew did nothing wrong. The Gentile came on his own, and he lit it. You didn't tell him to. He's not your shliach, nothing. He's a kabbalah. Okay. Nevertheless, because his intention is to please you, that still doesn't make it wrong for you. But we're more afraid that the next time you'll ask him to do it. That's the problem.
The boy also benefits from tonight. That's a good thing.
Then we're going to see. Then we're going to see that it's not really a problem. Not a problem. If it's for himself, then it's not a problem. We're going to see. We're going to see. In general, the general rule is if he's doing it for himself, then it's okay to benefit. I ask the gentleman on the computer to please mute yourselves and then unmute yourself if you have a question. Okay, so we continue and we say, Bays. Okay, I'm going to have to mute you. Forgive me. If you have any questions, you can type it. And then if you need me to...
I think it was me, so I just fixed it.
Okay, so we continue with Bays. Nevertheless, here's the answer to your question, Emmanuel. They did not bother the Jew to leave his home when the Gentile lit a candle for him on his own. Notice the on his own. Meaning to say, if the Jew asked him to do it, so he put himself in that position. And yes, he has to leave the house for as long as that light is there. But if the Gentile came on his own and did it, we're not going to punish the Jew. The Jew didn't do anything wrong. He can't benefit from it. But at the same time, we're not going to punish him to leave. Now, he is going to benefit necessarily. Actually, but he cannot use the light. Meaning to say, he cannot do with the light anything he would not have been able to do. So he can't read. He can't, look for things. But he can sit there. Whatever he was able to do without the light, he can do. And he certainly doesn't have to leave. I'm going to read number 12 in the English. I to read or perform any other activity that he could not have performed with a light not kindled. Nevertheless, he may sit and eat in the room, converse there with friends, and the like, even though by doing so he's deriving satisfaction from the fact that the light was kindled. Okay? It's nice to have light. But the fact is that it was done beyond his control, and we're not going to punish him and make him leave. The same thing goes for a fire that he's heating himself with. He doesn't have to leave the room, even though he is necessarily going to be warmed by that fire. Now, what about if he's not in his own house? What if he's a guest somewhere? What if he's a guest in a hotel, for example? Alter Rebbe continues. The same thing applies if he is spending time in a Gentile owned. He doesn't have to leave if the guy lit a candle for him. Now, of course, if the guy lit a candle for him, for the guy himself, there's no problem at all, and the Jew can even benefit from it. There's no question it doesn't have to leave. But here, even if you know that he lit it for you, because you see he peeks in, he sees you sitting there in the dark, he lights it. Okay, fine. I didn't do anything wrong. You don't have to leave the room. The kivin shu shoyves boy, because he is staying there, nasa kebese, it becomes like his house. And it's a bother for him to leave. Right, so last minute is chasidus. If he wants to go beyond the letter of the law, so then he can turn away from the light in order to show that he doesn't want it. Symbolically, turn away from it, even though he's still going to get it around over his shoulder, you know what I'm saying? But symbolically, he can turn away. But by the letter of the law, he doesn't even have to do that. Nevertheless, we're moving right along in Gimel, Reish Ayin Vav Gimel. Nevertheless, we're talking about a fire that is lit by a Gentile for a Jew, either for heat or for light. We're saying that even if it's done in a way that the Jew did not tell him to do it, nevertheless, the Jew cannot benefit from it because he may tell him to do it next time. But he doesn't have to leave the room if that's his place, that's his house, or that's where he's staying. The mashmos is, by the way, if it's not his house, if he's hanging out at his neighbor's house and a guy comes in and lights the thing for him, he has to leave. Or if he's just in a public place and he has somewhere else to go, he should go there because he is benefiting after all. But if it's his house or where he's staying, then he doesn't have to leave. When we call Mokim, Imaneru Shel Yisrael, if the lamp that the guy is lighting, or the wood that he's lighting in the fireplace, belongs to the Jew, then you must tell him not to light it. So then we said in Reish and Beis that you don't have to stop him, but you still can't benefit.
So you can get more.
You're not getting the benefit.
No. You don't have to stop him in that case because he's not doing it for you. Clearly, if it's his own thing.
Yeah, you're bringing it to your house, it says, but because he knows that you need light.
Right. So you don't have to stop him.
You're doing it for the Jew, but you're using his...
Exactly.
You can benefit.
In that case, you don't have to stop him, but you still can't benefit. That means that if it's that whatever you couldn't do, for example, beforehand, you can't do now. If you were not able to read, because there wasn't enough light to read, can't read. Can't find something. Whatever.
I mean, what if like it's a cleaning lady and she whatever, like still you can't.
So a cleaning lady is better or worse? What are you suggesting?
No, not better or worse. I mean, obviously it falls into that same category. Let's say you live north and you're putting fire in the fireplace, putting wood in the fireplace. Like,
cleaning lady is worse, by the way. Cleaning lady is worse than a cobbler because she's a scriya. She works for you. So that's even worse. But again, you're not going to have to leave unless you told her to do it. The Chachamim aren't going to punish you for something that happened beyond your control. You're not going to have to leave. On the other hand, you should definitely stop her. She's a Syrian. She's doing something for you. Definitely should stop her.
So let's go the opposite. The guy turn the lights off in the bedroom.
That you can sleep. Then you can sleep because the principle is that darkness is not created. He doesn't create darkness. Darkness is a result of the lack of light. So he took away the light. As a result of that, there's darkness, but he didn't make the darkness. So that you're not only are you allowed to sleep, but you're actually allowed to hint in that case, because the benefit is not direct. So you're allowed to hint and say, "It's so light in here. I can't sleep. I can't turn it off. It's my holy day." Sorry? Yeah, that's why you can't tell him to do it. But if he does it on his own, you don't have to stop him. You don't have to stop.
What's the difference between that
Sorry?
and what's the difference between that and hinting him to turn on the light?
You have to stop him, if he comes to do it. And even if you don't stop, even if he does it before you can stop him, you still can't benefit. Because any time that you get benefit directly from it, we're afraid you're going to tell him to do it.
But what about when he's turning out the light? How is that different? That's where I'm confused.
That's why it's probably worse. She cleans the house. She takes care of the house. If I'm going to somebody's house in a meeting, and then she picks up the plate and she starts cleaning them.
What's wrong? What's wrong with cleaning plates?
It's in the dishwasher. I can't benefit from eating from that plate again on that same shot on that same day.
I don't know. We're going to see later that things that could be done in a permissible way, if she does it in a forbidden way, not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. We're going to see about that.
This situation happens every show a few times a year. Some kid comes, turns off the light. Then they help her with it, whatever.
So the thing is that even though in the Mahadura Basra, in the Mahadura Kama, in the Shulchan Aruch that we have, the Alter Rebbe says you cannot allow a goy to turn on the light with your stuff. If you see him coming to do, you have to stop him, right? Obviously, the light in shul belongs to you. To the Jews. It's not his own light, so you have to stop him. In the Mahadura Basra, which is what the Alter Rebbe wrote later, it's printed in the back of the Shulchan Aruch. Very complicated, lamdish. Like it's not like a Shulchan Aruch. It's more like a deep shear in that discussion. But there he's not as strict, and he holds you don't have to stop him, but you still cannot benefit from it. Meaning to say, practically speaking, in a shul that all the lights are out and it's at night, I honestly don't know of any heter, because you're not allowed to benefit from it. You couldn't read before, can't read now. If it's during the day and you have the windows and there's light, good read, it's just not so comfortable. So then according to Mahadura Basra and Alter Rebbe, as long as you don't tell him directly, if he does it, you don't have to stop him.
Even so, he knows that Yahweh is going to be darker outside.
That we're going to see later. Maybe it's not so bad once, if you don't benefit right away. So maybe his intent is not for you to benefit right away. So it's not as bad as when you. We're going to see. There's two opinions about that later. But when it's nighttime, it's a problem. I don't know of a heter.
So I still didn't get the difference between you hinting him to turn on the light or hinting him to turn off the light.
Same thing.
Same
thing. There in the Mahadura Basra, you can't tell him, but if he does it on his own, if he figures it out on his own, or even if you say it's so dark, I can't, whatever, he understands, he does it, then you can stay there.
But what about hinting him to turn off the light? Is that the same thing?
Read or do whatever you want to do.
But let's say if you can manage without his action, that's going to be difficult. But with his action, it's just going to make it more easier.
Okay, not the end of the world. But if you could not read, you're not allowed to read. So that's one situation that I don't have a heter for.
Yeah, I still didn't get it clear about turning off the light. Hello?
Now, here's a chiddush.
Oh, am I on?
Here's a chiddush.
Hello?
Here's one situation where you
Hello?
are actually allowed to benefit, even though he's doing it for you. That is, if you tried to stop him and he didn't listen, and you didn't wink to him as you tried to stop him and say, you can't really do this, but you really actually tried to stop him, and he did it anyway, then you're actually allowed to benefit. Because there we're not going to say that you're going to tell him to do it again when you clearly told him not to.
When you say like trying, it means like verbally or even...
No, I don't think you have to be physical. You just tell him not to. Now here's an important point. You asked about a cleaning lady. ואם מיכה בנוחם משורס ובייס להשגיח בו, בשמור לשתם בשלה הנש, מיכה בהם מכל מקום, חייב הוא לגורש מבייסיס הנוחי זה שנשמע למד לקמה ובשבילה בשבס. Now let's say you have the guy, and he's a smart guy, and he knows that really you want him to do it, but you have to tell him not to. If he doesn't listen, you have to fire him.
Wow.
You have to get rid of him. Because you're in trouble, because he doesn't take your macha seriously. So you know.
I see it in different homes. Like when I go to, it's things happen. It's like,
I can't excuse everything.
no, yeah.
There are some things that maybe there's room for.
Should I like even go to these people's homes? Like,
That's an interesting question.
have good food. Well, yeah. Have to blame my weight on living.
Unfortunately, this is a rampant problem. Rampant problem.
It's a huge problem. Oh, but I can tell you stories of many things that happened. Like, oh my God. I've been to a home that they're religious, you know, they say, and then the clean lady turns on the TV. And the kids.
My gosh.
And I was like, oh, this is happening. This is happening. And I was like, so I spoke to somebody or the kid, like, whatever. Is it? So what's going on? Why is this? I spoke to him to the rabbi. Like, it wasn't there. I asked him after, like, mentioned the name of the person, but like, this. I mean, it's bad. I mean, even though it's like turning on the lights, but I didn't like his way of explaining things. So.
I mean,
very, very lax.
That's bad news. Besides the fact that Amir Lanachri just TV and Shabbos, kids watching TV.
It's everything. It's everything. Knocks out a lot of
even a TV that's left on from before Shabbos. That's not a Shabbos atmosphere in a house. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you where to eat and where not to eat, but that's definitely a problem.
That's my question. You wouldn't eat that.
It means there's a certain lack of sensitivity to basic important aspects of Shabbos. It would make me question other things as well.
I'll listen to my love. I'll listen to you.
Honestly, I don't know. It's hard to give a klal, but it would make me wonder about their commitment to Shabbos properly. Yeah, it's a difficult question. Okay, see, Amir Lanachri, even though there are situations that are forbidden, but unfortunately people do it. They think it's okay, and they do it, but that's just a lack of knowledge. But TV in the house on Shabbos, it seems to be, even though maybe halachically, maybe halachically, no, my point is maybe halachically it's less problematic, but spiritually,
yeah, of course.
It's something that is.
I didn't even see the screen. I was like, oh my God. It was in a Florida room. It was in the dining room, and I saw from the mirror, it was like the Florida room and the TV was turned on. I was like, oh wow, this is happening.
It also says a lot to the kids.
To go through the dining room, to leave the dining room, to pass through the Florida room, which is like a lounge area of the house, and then it's like, oh, so this is gonna be weird.
It's going to be very weird, and the kids who grow up in such atmosphere, what do you expect from them when they get older? You know what I'm saying, all of a sudden they're going to turn bar mitzvah. That's it. No more TV, no more texting, no more WhatsApping, no more videos. Bar mitzvah.
I spoke to the parents. It says, "Oh, the guy turns it on. It's not turning on the light." Okay.
Even though the guy is intending for his own good, because he's getting paid for every time he lights. We already said that a kablan, you don't have to stop him if you don't tell him to do it on Shabbos, even though he's working with your kalim. He's working on your shirt, your pants, whatever it is. You don't have to stop him. So you can't allow him to do it in your house, but they marasai, because marasai, like when I see there. So there's two issues with the fellow doing it in your house. There's the fact that you can't benefit, because then you might ask him. In addition to that, you also have to stop him, even if you're not planning to benefit. I'm not going to benefit. Big deal. We go to another room. No. You have to stop him because a Kabbalah is not allowed to do work in your house. Like we said before, marasai. So those are the two issues here. Now, even if you don't have the second issue of marasai, because he's using his own stuff, which we already said is not marasai. How do they know it's his own stuff? I don't know. He comes in with his own lamp, his own flashlight, whatever. So then we said you actually don't have to stop him. The second issue remains, or the first issue, whatever you call it. The issue that if you would benefit, you might tell him next time. So then you don't have to stop him, but you still can't benefit. So there's really not much of a point in allowing him to do it, but that is what the halacha is. Oh, here it is right here. If the candle or the wood belongs to the guy, and it's you don't have to stop him if he's doing it on his own, even though you didn't tell him that you're going to pay him. I'm going to read note 21. In section 252, the Alter explains that since the non-Jew uses his own property, the activity is not yet identified with the Jew. Therefore, there's no concern about the impression that could be created. 210, the Alter explains that the non-Jew is not considered the Jew's agent because he's acting on his own initiative and for his own benefit, because it is certain that the Jew will reciprocate the kindness. Even within the Jewish home, we do not suspect from Maras Ayin when the malacha is done with items that belong to the goy, for the reason that will be explained in 325. Okay. There's a long note here, 22, that explains why it's not Maras Ayin. Yes.
Fire versus electricity.
I'm sorry?
Fire versus electricity.
Fire is a Torah violation. One of the 39 malachas is not to ignite a fire. Another one is not to extinguish a fire. Electricity is not a fire. Electricity is a flow of electrons, and it's not a fire. So there's different opinions. There's different opinions about what it is. Some say the most famous opinion is the Chazon Ish says that using electricity is considered like building, meaning to say you're completing the item that you're using the electricity for. Kind of like a fan that's not on is like dead, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? You turn it on, you bring it to life, you're completing it. Same thing with anything. So that's a very strict opinion.
Fire out of electricity.
You could make fire out of electricity. You could make ice out of electricity. You could make many things out of it. Electricity is just an energy with which you can do many things, but the electricity itself is not fire. Now, sometimes there are sparks created by the electricity, when the wires connect to other wires. Okay, but that's not what electricity is. That's like a byproduct of the flow of the electricity. And generally, those sparks are not what you want. You know what I'm saying? They wear down the wires. They're not good for the machine. So they're not considered the main problem. Maybe they're a secondary problem, but it's not the main problem. And an unintended consequence. And the sparks themselves, they're very short-lived. They don't really. I'm saying they spark and they disappear.
What about the old fashioned light bulb? The electricity is actually.
So that is a light. That's a light.
Or a heater, electric heater.
Exactly. When you have a glowing metal, many poskim hold that a glowing metal is considered halachically like fire. A red hot glowing metal, which would include a filament of a incandescent light bulb, would include the coils in an electric oven. So that's a separate issue. Some poskim hold that is absolutely fire. To the extent that some say that you can actually say boire ma'ore ha'esh on Matzah Shabbos with an incandescent light bulb. They say the Achiezer, Reb Chaim Oizer Grodzensky, who was the Rav in Vilna before the war, big Rav, he was probably one of the biggest Rabbanim in the world at that time. They say that he used to make Havdalah on an electric light bulb. And they say that he did it dafka, Masepis, electric light bulb. Could have used anything. He did it dafka because he wanted to show that it's absolutely fire. He wanted people to know, as far as Shabbos is concerned, not to take any leniency. If he's saying a bracha on it, he's sure about it. You don't say a bracha if you're not sure. So he said a bracha on it to show that it's mamish fire. That's what they say. Anyway, but other light bulbs, which are not creating an actual filament, so
fluorescent.
If you follow that video, you could actually, like, also say, with Shabbos candle. I mean, I know the Somet Institute, they sell a Shabbos candle for hospital. That's it.
right,
Waving candles and
right,
more. So you could say about
exactly. Yeah, that's what the poskim say. The poskim say you could say a bracha on those candles. Correct. That's correct.
So those electric could be considered like an Aish?
Yeah.
No, I'm saying that incandescent.
Correct.
But it's funny, so let me ask you a question. Halachically, a menorah, the electric ones. I always
A
say,
menorah, they
I
say
always had a
not
problem,
to.
like, well, I'm using this, like, they're not so, this, but like,
A menorah they say not to because it should be similar to the menorah in the Beis
exactly,
Hamikdash.
okay. But it's fire,
So,
it's incandescent.
Even though it is fire in terms of Havdalah and their Shabbos, but because the menorah is supposed to somewhat resemble another Beis Hamikdash, they say to do it without a bracha. But you should do it if you have no choice. I'm saying people who are on the plane, for example, sometimes their flights are such that there's simply no time to light the Hanukkah candles. I mean, you're flying to Australia, it's a 20-hour ordeal. Now, I'm not saying you should make such a flight on Hanukkah, but whatever. The person did already. So one of my teachers in yeshiva went into the bathroom and lit the menorah in the bathroom. And then he wanted his wife to participate, so he brought his wife into the bathroom with him, got into a lot of trouble. But after 9/11, I think he may have been arrested for that. But anyway, that's not recommended. So at least an electric menorah would be appropriate, even though it's without a bracha. But anyway, the point is that according to many poskim, electricity is actually only midirabanan. When I say electricity, I mean the use of the energy is only midirabanan. You can use electricity to do many Torah violations. You can use electricity to print. Printing is like writing. That's a Torah violation. You can use it to mow the lawn. That's cutting grass. You know what I'm saying? You can use it for all kinds of Torah violations, but the essential use of it, if you're not doing any malacha with it, I'm just reading my phone. There's no malacha in reading a phone, but I'm using electricity. There's no malacha in a fan blowing air, but I'm using electricity. So in those matters, many poskim hold is only derabanan. Why is it derabanan? They say it's like moiled. It's like creating something new. The energy flow is like something new, and creating something new is an issa derabanan. I don't think so. I don't think so. Well, a fan is like a light is like a fire, so that's more strict. Fire is muktzah. But moving a fan, I don't think is a problem.
So when we're reading going like fire or whatever, we cannot automatically extrapolate to flipping a switch.
An incandescent switch, yes.
And those are more rare.
Exactly. Exactly. LED lights, they say, is midrabanan. Fluorescent, I'm not sure about, because it also has some heat. It doesn't have a filament, it's just gas inside, but it also has some heat. So I don't really know. I don't want to say because I don't know. But LED, many poskim say, is only D'Rabbanan. So that actually is a big help, because whenever it's a D'Rabbanan, and you ask a goy to do a D'Rabbanan, first of all, it's more lenient. B'diavad, you could benefit. And some cases, lechatchila, you can ask him if it's a case of a need, a mitzvah, financial loss, all those cases.
Even so, like all the examples that you could enjoy the read, and now you're going to put the lights on, but it's LED light.
No problem. Yeah, well, in some cases, you may be able to ask him even lechatchila, and in any case, it's not going to be asabed b'diavad. Even if you shouldn't have asked him, it's not going to be asabed b'diavad. The goy does a d'Rabbanan for you. That's how the Siman started. Al Term started because he did a malacha shel Torah, because he did a Torah violation. The sages were strict. You can say a rabbinic violation, even if you shouldn't have done it. They're not going to say it's asab b'diavad. So that's very important to know. Yes, very good. When we call makom, says Al Rebbe, mutar limchis boy. V'chein mutar limchis ben nachri shebal yosef shemen sheloi ben ardolik. This is something important. You're allowed to stop a goy from doing malacha. You can't tell a goy to do malacha. But you're allowed to stop him from doing malacha. That's not a malacha. If he is on his way to turning on the light, you can tell him, no, please don't. If he's on his way to turning off the light, you can tell him, no, please don't. This is a very practical thing. You need the light on in your room. You want to do it in a permissible way. The permissible way, by the way, we're going to see, is if the goy actually does it for himself. So if you can somehow get a goy in there to do it for himself, whatever it is, figure it out, then you can benefit from it afterwards. So let's say you got him in there, you convinced him that he wants a piece of cake, whatever, and he turns it on. On his way out, he's about to turn off please, don't turn it on, don't turn it off. Just leave it as is. That's okay, because you're telling him not to do work. You can't tell him to do work. You can tell him not to do work. That's not considered extinguishing. To you know what I'm saying? To tell him not to turn it on is not extinguishing. To tell him not to turn it off is not lighting.
So it's neither one.
It's neither one. It's okay.
It's just about to turn it off. No, you turn it off. And then he realized that you say no, he turned it back on.
So then it's a problem. Then you can't benefit from it. It's not your fault, but you still can't benefit because he did it for you. So that's you gotta catch him on time. You gotta catch him on time.
So what, just let it off. Let's say he came to turn it off, and everyone is fine, but he just didn't realize.
No, what?
So and then he put it.
Once he turned it back on, if it's in your house, you don't have to tell him to turn it off because you don't have to leave. We said before already, you don't have to leave your house. You just can't do whatever you were not able to do without the light. Can't do it. Like we said before, if you did protest and he didn't listen, whether it's in his house or your house, you are allowed to benefit from it, as long as you didn't do it as a trick. Okay, says the Alter Ben Vlav, all of the above is if he lit for the Jew. If he lit for himself, for another Gentile, all Jews are allowed to benefit from that light, even if it was a Jewish-owned lamp or light like we have today. We're not going to make a decree that he's going to tell the goy to light it for another goy for himself. What he did was for himself or for another goy. So you'll tell him to do more of the same? Well, why should you? Listen to this, my friends. If he lit for a sick person, not only if the sick person is deathly ill, even if the sick person is just bedridden, which we're going to see when we get to 328, that you're allowed to ask a goy to do any malacha whatsoever for a person who's bedridden, even though he's not deathly ill. It's no problem. And by the way, the needs of young children are considered like the needs of a person who is bedridden. It depends on their strength. Maybe 6, they're weak, maybe a little bit older. But the point is, no, I don't think so. It means that they're weak, they're fragile. If you don't feed them, they're going to be healthy, whatever. But the point is that in that case, there's no decree that you can't benefit because you may ask him to do it. Ask him. You're allowed to ask him. The whole point is if he does something that you're not allowed to ask him to do, then you can't benefit because you might ask him next time. But if he does something you're allowed to ask him to do, of course you can benefit because you're allowed to ask him to do it. So there's no problem. Okay. Yisraelim. V'nachar, moving right along with Zion. There. Jews and Gentiles are hanging out together. If most of the group are non-Jews, and a goy came and lit a candle for the group, not for himself, for the group. Sees a group there, walks in, oh, it's dark. He turns on the light and he walks out. If he turns on the light and he does something with it, we're going to see later, it's okay, no matter how many Jews in the room, as he's doing for himself. But if he does it clearly for the people in the room, so then, if most of the people are not Jewish, you're allowed to benefit. If they're mostly non-Jews, then you're not allowed to benefit. Presumably, the lighter is intending to do it for the majority of the people. If it's half and half, it's also forbidden. Because if it's half and half, he presumably is doing it for both. Even if you're not sure, we are strict in this matter of half and half. This is all if he lit it without explaining why he's doing it. Presumably he's doing it for the group, and we follow the majority. But if he's clearly doing it for himself, for example, we see that as soon as he lights it, he immediately uses it. He uses that light for himself. In that case, even though it's mostly Jewish, you're allowed to benefit because presumably he did it for himself. He knows other people are also going to use it. Okay, that's not his main intention. The same thing, if he's clearly doing it for another Gentile, even if there's a majority Jews in the room, if you see that he does it for a specific person that's not Jewish, it's okay. On the other hand, if it's clear that he's doing it for the Jew, or for the Jew and the non-Jew specifically, he says to the Jew, I see I'm going to light it for you. And he says the same thing to the guy, even though there's a majority non-Jews. But if he specifically has in mind the Jews as a separate unit, then it's awesome. If he does it for the group, we go by the majority. But if he does it for specific people, even though some Jews and some non-Jews, then it's forbidden. So that's
if he does it specifically for one person within that group. Awesome.
Exactly, even just one. Exactly. Okay, Biktsas Makoimus, moving right along. In many places, this is a important seif, because this seif tells us that even people who do things that are wrong, we try at the end of the day to explain that it's not as bad as it seems. Not as bad as it seems, even if it's wrong. Usually there's some opinion that they can find that explains away what they're doing. Now, that doesn't mean it's right, not the main halacha. But this is a theme we find in halacha very often, that the poskim that see that people are doing something wrong will often say, well, even though they shouldn't really be doing it, But in the end of the day, there is an opinion that says it's okay. It's called a limud zchus. A limud zchus, to try to find merit for the Jews rather than hailing fire and brimstone at them and just shouting and screaming at them, which is anyway not going to help, as we're going to see later. If they're not going to listen, you don't say it, even if they have no opinion to rely on. But nevertheless, often the poskim will say, you know what? There is something to it. It's not totally made up. There is an opinion. So here goes. Actually, this reminds me of a word that I heard from my Rosh Koiler of Deitch about the very first Masechta in Shas. The very first sugya in Shas. Exactly. The Talmud Bavli, or any Talmud actually, starts with Mema Sakra and Ashma Ba'aris. And the first sugya, what I mean to say is the first in-depth discussion, is on the second line. When do you reach Mat night? When the Kohanim come to eat Truma, which means when 3 stars come out. Rashi says, what do you mean when 3 stars come out? We daven Ma'ariv early all the time. How do we do it? So Rashi says, well, it's because you're allowed to daven Ma'ariv early, to Rabbi Yehuda. And once you daven the Ma'ariv early, you want to say some Torah learning before Ma'ariv. You don't want to just daven Shemona Esrei, so you say Shema because it's some Torah learning. And you can say the brachas even though you're not doing the mitzvah. That's Rashi. Tosfos says, no, it's not the reason. Even though we daven early, we daven after Shkia, even though it's not before, it's not after Tzei. So that's why Rabbeinu Yena says another explanation. Anyway, so Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach said the reason that the Talmud Bavli, which is basically the Torah Shabbat Peh, starts with that sugya is to show the way you should be learning. When you learn something and you see that the Jewish people don't do it, instead of saying they're wrong, you have to find a way for them to be right. You know what I'm saying? Because Rashi doesn't say, oh, what's going on here? They're wrong. They're davening early. The Mishnah says not to. Stop them. Put up on the bulletin board. No. Rashi says, it's okay because of this reason. Tyson says that reason. Abinah says that reason. Nobody says they're wrong. Almost nobody. I mean, there's one opinion that says they're wrong. But almost nobody says they're wrong. So that's like a klal in learning. When you learn something and you see people don't do it, don't be quick to say they're wrong. Try to find an explanation.
But that was the criticism that they had against Rav Moshe Feinstein, Rav Ovadia, saying, they're too makel on things. And then the flip side was like, no, only a great Rav will understand their job is to find what their community needs.
Exactly.
It's very easy to just put up the stop sign and say wrong.
Exactly. And in context, you have to realize that what Rav Moshe did was exactly what we're saying. He didn't come to America and say, wow, the government has supervision. That's it. Forget Chalav Yisrael. That's not what he did. He came to America and he saw the Jews are just buying milk at the supermarket from Jews, people who keep kosher on Shabbos. What's going on? He came up with a vart, the government and supervision, and it's like we see it. Okay, fine. It's a whole different perspective on things. Okay, let's continue. In some places, many people are lenient to tell non-Jews to actually light the candle for meals when the lights go out and it's impossible to eat in darkness. Some said, we're going to find merit in their behavior as to why the sages didn't stop them. They're following the opinion of the Itur. The Itur is one of the Rishonim. The Itur holds that you're allowed to tell a non-Jew to do even a Torah level work for a mitzvah. Now, what we hold is what we're going to say in 307, that you can ask him to do a rabbinic level work for a mitzvah. Shus, the shvus makom mitzvah. That's what we're going to say later. But the Itter holds you can tell him even to do a Torah level work for a mitzvah. Okay, so that's how they came up with this explanation. Mikol Makam, says the Alter Rebbe, even according to that opinion, nevertheless, if there is already one lamp lit and you can eat by that lamp, you can't tell him to light more, because there it's not such a mitzvah that we're going to override the prohibition of telling a guy to do work. Because you could eat by one candle. It's not so comfortable. Okay, no big deal. Now let's say, in this case, where you shouldn't have asked him to, even according to lenient opinion, because there was already one candle, and he went ahead and lit a second candle. Shouldn't have asked him to. So, nevertheless, you are allowed to benefit from that candle, even after the first one goes out, as we're going to see later, because there's an opinion that says that when the goy lights a candle, and there's another candle already lit, so you're not benefiting from it right away, only later. Some say you're allowed to benefit, because when he does it, you're not benefiting right away. It's not considered his direct, the effect directly from his work.
I don't understand.
Some say, and the Alter Rebbe says later, that if the pleasure of Shabbos depends on it, then you can rely on that opinion. That's what he says here. Because your pleasure on Shabbos depends on it. You're not going to be able to eat your soup.
Even
when he ate it, you were eating. When he lit it, you were eating fish. You had the first light. By the time you get to the soup, the first light is out. Oinig Shabbos, you can rely on that opinion, like we're going to say.
Even the Alter Rebbe said, if there's one light, it's to tell the
exactly, and he did it.
Making a shvus.
Exactly, and he did it. You shouldn't have told him to do it, even according to the lenient opinion. But because that light was there when he lit it, even though it went out, because it's for Oinig Shabbos, you can be lenient. You can be lenient and benefit. Be lenient. There was an issue. Telling him to light it was an issue. But in terms of benefiting, because it wasn't a direct benefit, it was a delayed benefit, and it's a case of Oinig Shabbos, you can rely on the lenient opinion that allows you to benefit. Okay, my friends, this is all in terms of finding a limud zchus. We're going to explain that what they do is not so bad. We're going to give them a good eye. We're going to look at them with a good eye. Every person should be strict for himself not to tell a goy to light a candle for him, even though he's sitting in darkness, and he's not able to eat his Shabbos meal. Because the majority opinion says that you cannot tell him to do a Torah level Isser in a case of a mitzvah, only a rabbinic level, halacha. Like we're going to see in 3 or 7. That's the halacha. Lefikach ein lahakal klal bazeh afilu letzorach gadol. Alter Rebbe has very clear words. You cannot be lenient in this even for a great need. You don't have to protest those that are lenient. They're not going to listen to you anyway. Better they should be a shogig. They should not be transgressing on purpose, rather than on purpose. The whole purpose of knowing this opinion is to know they have somebody to rely on. Even though they shouldn't be doing it, at least they have somebody to rely on. No. On Yom Tov, the halachas are
You're allowed to enjoy it from Israel to the
I'm not going to talk about Isurim in general. I'll talk about lighting a candle or a light. Because lighting a fire on Yom Tov is only a rabbinic violation.
But you're allowed to do it only from an existing fire, not a new fire.
But if you do it from a new fire, it's only a rabbinic violation. So to tell a goy to do it is a double rabbinic. And you're actually allowed to for the case of a mitzvah. or a great need, so on. So if it's dark,
Existing fire, you could do it.
existing fire, you could do it. Non-existent fire, you can't do it, but it's only rabbinic. So you could tell a guy to do it, for sure. Anytime you're allowed to tell him, you're allowed to enjoy. That's not a question. But even if you're not allowed to tell him, you're still allowed to enjoy. Meaning to say, let's say it was not a case of a mitzvah. It wasn't a great need. It was whatever. It was the afternoon. Everybody left already. The meal's over. You don't really need it. You asked him. You can still benefit because it's only a rabbinic violation. The issur of benefiting is only from a Torah violation. Now that doesn't mean there are cases that you can't benefit. I'm saying there are things that are forbidden by Torah law on Yom Tov. You know what I'm saying? Not everything is rabbinic law, but in terms of a light, there's much greater room for leniency. If he builds a house for you, you can't go into it. His building is not one of the malachas that is allowed. That's a Torah violation. Okay. So my computer is very quiet. No questions? I did, but usually they write down the.
I tried to write. I got no
I
answer.
just can't hear them. All right, I'll be nice and I'll unmute you guys. Everything good, just taking notes. Okay. Very good. Okay. So we continue and we say, well, I do want to just bring up one heter that the Mishnah Berurah brings, which is that even though we don't rely on the opinion of the Itter, that it's allowed to ask a goy to do a melacha d'oraisa for the case of a mitzvah. The Mishnah Berurah brings from the Chaye Adam, and I believe it's also from one of the Rishonim, that you can rely on the opinion of the Itter for a mitzvah d'Rabbim, for a communal mitzvah. I believe I mentioned this the other night. For example, to fix an eruv, you can ask a goy to fix an eruv, even if it involves Torah violations, building and whatever, based on this opinion of the Itter, which we rely on in the case of a mitzvah d'Rabbim. Let me see if I can find it here. Mitzvah d'Rabbim, yeah. 41. Okay. Yeah, let's continue. שיוביל לנהר דוילק כבר במקום אחר, יש מתירים אפילו מאפשר לבלעדוי. Okay, here's a very nice heter. Test. I'm starting test right now. This is, I didn't do test yet. I'm starting test right now. Moshe, this is the answer to your question. Dishwashers and all sorts of other things. Here is a major heter coming up. אבל לא אומר לנוחי שיוביל לנר הדולק כבר במקום אחר, יש מתיר אפילו אם אפשר לבלעדוי. בין נר של שייבה וחלב, בין נר של שמן, sorry. When it comes to telling a goy to bring a lamp which is already lit somewhere else, carry a lamp, come with me, I can't see in the next room, come with me, take this lamp, let's walk together. Some allow it. I think it's Rabbeinu Tam. Shuk Maharam, B'Shem Rabbeinu Tam, yeah. Afilu mefshalei beladei. Even if you don't really need it, you could get by without it. You're allowed to ask him.
What are you talking about?
It's already lit. He's not lighting it. He's just carrying it.
From another house, from the neighbor, and next one.
That's really complicated. Carrying. If there's an Eruv, yeah, why not? There's no eruv. It's not simple.
So he can touch things that are muktzah.
That's what we're saying here. That's what I'm going to say here. Whether it's a wax candle where there's only a muktzah issue, whether it's a oil lamp where by moving it you make the flame flicker. Either way, you're allowed. Why? Moving a lamp is only asr because of muktzah, like we're going to see in 279. You're allowed to move muktzah k'la'achar yad. You can move it with your elbow, back of your hand, with an unusual way of moving. So here's the argument. Since the Jew could have brought the lamp here by carrying it with his elbows, of his elbows or the back of his hands.
Candle to move for a Joe on Shabbos?
A shiva. No, not a wax candle. A wax candle is not also with the shinui because it is not gonna go. It's not gonna get extinguished. Oil lamp, you're not allowed to move because an oil lamp, when you move it, the flame.
Here it doesn't say which. It's like,
so I'm explaining to you.
It doesn't say which type of ner.
It does actually. It does say which type of ner. It says bein ner shel shaiva v'chelev bein ner shel shum. Whether it's a wax candle or an oil lamp. So here's the thing. Here's the thing.
The acres, if you're permitted to do it, then the goat.
Here's the thing. What's the isser with moving an oil lamp? Besides muktzah. Muktzah is not an issue, like he's saying. I mean, it's not an issue. Muktzah is a way around the muktzah, as we're going to say now. The issue with an oil lamp, besides muktzah, is that it flickers. But that's not my intention. That's a psik reisha. When you move an oil lamp, it's definitely going to cause the oil to go back and forth, and it's definitely going to cause the flame to flicker. That's called a psik reisha. Right? That's not my intention. It's a definite unintended consequence. And here is something we learned for the guys who weren't here in the last topic. Here's something we learned in 253 in the laws of Shehiyah. Psik reisha al yidei goy is mutter. You're allowed to tell a goy to do something which will definitely cause a malacha to happen. Will cause it in an unintended way. The example that we said over there was exactly. You have a pot. The pot is sitting embedded in the coals. It's not on top of the coals. Top of the coals, maybe the Jew can pick it up too, as long as he's careful. But it's embedded in the coals. It's sitting in the coals. The coals are surrounding it. When you pick it up, whoever picks it up, the coals are going to fall down, and some are going to get hotter, some are going to get colder. You can still ask a goy to pick it up. The coals, extinguishing, lighting. That's not his intention. That's a secondary concept, even though it's for sure going to happen. But for a goy, you're allowed to tell him because that's not his intention. The shlichus, when you're sending him to do something, only applies to what he intends to do, not to what is a secondary result. So when it comes to moving the oil lamp, the muktzah is what he's addressing here, is that because there's a permissible way for you to do it, you can ask him to do it even if he chooses to not use his elbows or not use the back of his hand. That's his choice. As far as the oil lamp moving, that's not his intention. He doesn't care if it moves or flickers. Totally not his intention. Back to mute, guys. Sorry. Sorry? No, that he's talking about the wax. That he's talking about the wax.
It's just the nail. It's like three types of nails. So
yeah, no. When he talks about the Jew moving it, he doesn't mean that. He means the wax. The point is,
I have a question on that.
When the guy brings it in a forbidden way, in a way that would be forbidden for a Jew, by carrying it normally, in Bekachtum, that's no problem. Listen carefully, this is a rule, according to this opinion. It did not forbid to do through a guy on Shabbos only things that there is no way for a Jew to do in a permissible way. If you can find a permissible way for a Jew to do it, then you can ask the guy to do it, even though they will choose to do it in a forbidden way. So there's a permissible way, for example, to wash the dishes with cold water, with a Shabbos sponge, Shabbos soap, all that stuff. The guy is not going to do that. She's going to use hot water. She's going to use a regular sponge. Maybe she'll even use a dishwasher.
And then she'll use the dishwasher.
Exactly. I mean, the dishwasher has another issue of the fact that it makes noise. We didn't really address that. We have to address it one day. But certainly washing the dishes with a sponge and hot water is definitely, according to this opinion, something you don't have to stop her. Because that's her choice. No, there's no way to wash clothes. There's no way to wash clothes.
Dishwasher.
There's no way to iron. No, dishwasher is not. Dishwasher is just washing dishes, which there is a permissible way.
So is it preferable to ask the goy or the Jew in that situation? The Jew that's going to do it permissible, or the goy that you don't know what way they're going to do? Give them a choice.
I mean, this is only one opinion, and the Alter Rebbe actually is not so gung-ho on this opinion. So let me first finish this before I answer your question. You should only give this heter to Torah scholars.
Yes.
Don't give it to simple people. Because they may get used to telling Goyim to do stuff, and they'll learn one thing from another, and they'll be overly lenient.
So
Not to
a non-from Jew. Definitely not a non-from Jew.
Not to put in the.
I mean, a non-from Jew, unfortunately, they're going to do whatever they do, regardless of what you tell them. It's not talking about non-from Jew. It's talking about a from Jew who doesn't know Torah. He keeps what he knows. Don't give him any ideas. Don't try to make Amir Lanachi permissible for him, because he's going to take it in the wrong way. He's going to misuse this heter. So in terms of that question, the best thing to do would be to tell the guy to use cold water.
Right, go in a permissible way.
Yeah.
And then they're going to do what they're going to do.
Now, if you tell her to use cold water and she chooses to use that water,
fine.
that's for sure okay. Yeah. The whole heter of Benatam is, don't tell her. Just tell her to wash, and she'll choose how to do it. But if you specifically tell her to do it in a permissible way and she chooses, then it's for sure.
You have to let her go?
Sorry?
You have to let her go?
No.
Oh.
You have to let her go.
But it's yes, can't use the dishwasher.
And he said that's
According to Rabbeinu Tam, besides the issue of the noise, which we never addressed, we have to get to it. According to Rabbeinu Tam, it's not a problem. You couldn't say yes. You could just say whatever you want. However you want to wash the dishes is fine. Whatever you want.
That's only for Talmidei Chachamim when it comes to that head.
That's correct. That's what he says. Let me see if he Mishnah Berurah.
Would there be a Marasai
Question.
have people that aren't Talmidei Chachamim over in that situation?
Yeah. I don't see the Mishnah Berurah adding to this right here. Maybe elsewhere he adds to it. What are you going to say?
I was just going to say, let's say you have Talmidei Chachamim, so it's not an issue, but you also happen to have guests maybe that aren't Talmidei Chachamim. Would there be a Marsayan issue and you just avoid it? Talmidei Chachamim.
I mean, this is a very common thing. This is a very common thing. People who have non-Jewish help in the house,
Right.
it's a very common thing. They get them to wash up.
Yeah.
So there's the dishes. There's also the floor,
Right.
mopping the floor.
Sweeping, yeah.
Sweeping is really not such a problem. But all those things are very, very practical things. Lion. I like lion. Let me see what he says about it.
We're not gonna have a minute.
I don't think so. Only thing he points out of this sefer here, Amir Lanachari, is that you cannot tell him to do it in a forbidden way. You can't tell him to use a dishwasher. That's no
Right,
question.
of course not.
That's no question.
Either you tell them a permissible way or you just don't wash the dishes.
Yeah. I'm going to give him his name in a second. Okay, no, let's just continue. And then from Amur, when we say this, please turn off mute. I will turn off mute, but please mute yourselves so that the background noise does not make noise. And then unmute yourself if you have a question. Yes, go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, okay. I think everybody's on mute as far as I can tell here. But anyways, I have a question. A lot of all these things that we're talking about right now seems like a Pasik Resha. But but yet you can't ask the guy to do things. This is like an extreme example.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Can you
What's Pasik Resha?
I mean, it's something. It's like cutting off killing the chicken because you want to cut off the head.
What Pasik means. But
it's like
what about our discussion that we're talking about of Pasik Resha?
If you ask a goy to turn on a light, isn't that a Pasik Resha?
Absolutely not. Turning on a light is an intended consequence. Pasik Resha is an unintended consequence.
So if I want a chicken's head for my kid, can I ask the goy to kill the chicken so he can have the chicken's head? That's like an extreme example.
You can't ask him to kill the chicken because then you're telling him to intentionally kill it. You can't ask him to kill the chicken because once you say the word kill, then you're telling him to do the malacha. The malacha is the killing. What is not the malacha?
So I'm telling him
If you tell him, listen here, my friend, my son would like a chicken head to play with. I happen to have a chicken here, and if you could arrange for my son to just have the head to play with, that would be great. That's an example. Yes, that's correct. So there, the intention.
So that is mutter.
That would be mutter, correct? Because there, all you're telling him to do is to cut off the head. You're not telling him to kill the chicken. The chicken's going to die, but that's not his intention. That's the exact case of Pasik Resha. That's the classic Pasik Resha. And the same.
Okay,
thing
thank you.
The same thing would apply certainly when it comes to opening the fridge with that has a light on. The intention is not to turn on the light, even though it's going to happen.
If you give me a drink, okay, the intention not for him to turn on the light, just you give me a drink.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, there it's there he may or may not turn on the light. That's even more removed. But here I'm talking about open the fridge. Can you please open the fridge? The light.
Give me a cold drink.
No, I'm saying you don't have to tell him to get it. You say open the fridge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because opening the fridge is not a malach. The light that's connected to it is a definite result, but that's not what we're talking to do. That's a secondary thing. Okay.
So if you have, your light is have no way around.
No. You cannot do a shvus to shvus personally, even for a mitzvah. The whole heter of shvus to shvus for a mitzvah or a great need.
Even the shul?
It's difficult. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think you can do a shvus to shvus b'shino either for a mitzvah, personally. I don't think so. But I don't know.
But on Shabbos?
I don't know. I don't think so, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure. Eventually, there comes a point that you are allowed. You know what I'm saying? We do have examples. We had it in Siman, Shin, Yud, Dalid. We had examples where something was so far removed that you were allowed to do it even yourself. It was Drabanon, Psik Resha, and the Kalka. I think it was something like that. It was like a three times thing. It was only Drabanon. It was not your intention, and it was ruining the item instead of fixing it. I think that's what it was. Sorry?
I don't know all the three.
I'm just saying there are things that they become so far removed that they are permissible. But I don't know if a regular drabanan with a shinoi, and what was it again? Oh, psik resha drabanan with the shinoi. Psik resha drabanan with the shinoi. I don't know. Maybe. There is an opinion that says psik resha drabanan is mutter even for a Jew. There is such an opinion. But it's not the main halach. So now you're saying with the shinoi. I don't know. Something to look into. Okay. Here's Yud Beis.
On what cases you're allowed to apply shino to be able to do something? You're using it very often, but if there's any specific word when you're asking the question.
Whenever you do it with the shino, it makes it darabana. And if it's already darabana, it makes it a double darabana. So it takes it one step down, but it doesn't necessarily make it allowed, right? Because you can't do a double darabana personally. But for example, you can tell a goy to do a da'iraisa with the shinoi. That's a nice heter, by the way.
Wow.
I just came up with a great heter. I didn't come up with it. Shlomo Zalman holds to it, actually. That is a very significant heter. Shlomo Zalman holds that if you tell a goy to do a da'iraisa with the shinoi, it's the same as telling him to do a da'rabanan. That would be an example. You need the lights on, and the goy is just not getting it. You're trying to hint to him. He just doesn't understand what you want from him. So according to Shlomo Zalman, you could tell him to do with the shinoi. If it's a case of a mitzvah, a great need, whatever. Tell him, do me a favor, just turn this light on with your elbow. And then it's allowed.
Wow.
And you can, and you can benefit. The whole thing of not benefiting is if he did something that you're not allowed to tell him to do. If he did something you're allowed to tell him to do, you're allowed to benefit because you're allowed to tell him. The whole thing is next time you may tell him. So what? You're allowed to tell him. That's a very significant head. Not everybody holds of it.
But you
But
can't
Shlomo
turn
Zalman
on
holds
lights.
of it. But with a shinoi, you're telling him to turn the light with a shinoi for a mitzvah.
Because he's doing it with the elbow.
With an elbow, exactly.
I heard in general that if you tell a guy and couldn't understand, so you're allowed to tell him directly because the Indian it's amira nochri asur, but not amira lechamo.
Yeah, so this is a way around.
Having a donkey work
This
for
is
you
a
is
way
worse
around.
than a goy. That's an asers adibras. I'm sorry, Daniel. What did you say?
So using this shinoi, that's a way around a lot of the things we're learning right now in this
Exactly.
chapter, isn't it?
Exactly. A very significant heter that Reb Shlomo Zalman holds of. That is correct.
Which one?
That a goy who does it with the shinui becomes a darabana, double darabana, really.
So you have to put the let's with his hand, not with his hand.
Whatever. Yeah. What you said, even if you heard it from a big rabbi, he was joking, by the way. I do think so.
That he said about his father.
His father was joking too.
No.
Even fathers can make jokes.
No.
Okay, let's continue. Aval ner, 12. Aval ner shaban like the shechol lebiach klei achila lo.
Are you skipping 10 and 11?
Oh, I didn't mean to. No,
You should.
I skipped it. Let's go back to Yud. Sorry. Ahmed Ramam Morim Shemavir LeKankri LeHanas Kan LaOrit. Abnei Shetzach LeMakayim Shayaner Oimetsha. אבל אסל תתו כדי נחרי כדי להצניעוי, כדי שלא יגונב. כשתת לזה לצח הנר שהוא מוקצה. אין הת לי ישראל תת למוקצה אפילו תלכון הצד, כשתת לי הוא בשביל המוקצה עצמו, כמו שהסבר בסימן שנראה. Okay. You can tell the goy to move it if you want to use the light. But you can't tell the goy to move it if it's going to get ruined or stolen or broken in that place, and you want to move it to save it. Because moving a muktzah item for the sake of the muktzah itself is also even kal achayat. Well, because it's also for a Jew kal achayat, so you can't tell a goy to do it because you could have done it, but because you couldn't have done it.
You're not telling the you're telling the ham. Let's say you receive a package sitting outside, okay, and it starts pouring rain, and you know if you're going to lose it.
It's a lot of money.
The remez, you don't have to come on to kalachayat. The remez to carry it in, it's no problem because you're not benefiting from it. I'm saying you're benefiting from it after Shabbos. You're not benefiting from it away. You can tell him beremez. You will let shinui. No problem. You can tell him I have this thing outside. I can't carry it in. Not allowed. If he figures it out, okay, we are going to skip the parentheses of number 10. I do advise you to try to read it and understand on your own. Number 10 parentheses is a very important klal in halach.
Why are you skipping it?
Because it's complicated.
So make it easy. That's what we're here for.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day we'll get back to it. But it's not a Amir Lanachin thing per se. It's just a very important klal halacha. Maybe one day we'll get back to it. Okay, number 11. Im oimer adam. Too complicated. Maybe. Let's see. For now, let's go on. Im oimer adam lavde l'shulchase leilichim milachutz b'layla umadlik maner ba'atzmam. Now, this is a trick. This is a nice trick that a person might want to do. I need light, and I need the goy to need it for himself, because then I can benefit. So I'll tell the goy, listen, come here. I need you to help me get a book from the library. So he comes into the library. He wants to help you, but he can't see. So he turns the light on. Now he turned it on for himself to help me. I can use it. No, it doesn't work. If you tell them to come with you and they light it on their own, even though they are turning it on for themselves to see where they're going while they walk with you, that's not called for a guy. The whole reason they're going there is for you. So even though while they're there, they need a light, but they're only there because of you. So therefore, that light is considered for you, not for them.
So in the case that you said, you need a book from the library,
Exactly.
So instead of like going with the go, just
Send
go
it.
back.
Oh.
No?
Lefikach tzolum was b'shalei adliku. Maner shalei v'mlei michal bevad liku. Also leilachem amol chutzat sheyinechu haber ba'is leihana or aner shelo b'shvil chasei. Afil aner shel nachri. The point is that you can't benefit from it. You have to stop from doing it. If you try to stop when you didn't listen, you can benefit like we said. Okay, he doesn't say clearly here, but I did read somewhere that if you sent him and you don't walk with him and he does it on his own, then it's okay.
And then you're allowed to join him?
Then you're allowed to join him, yeah. I'm pretty sure I saw that. I just want to make it check it out.
You know that he's going to do it. That's your intention.
Of course you know, but if he's standing with you, then his intention is for you. If he's standing by himself, even though you sent him, but it's removed from you. He wants to help you. To be able to help you, he wants to turn the light on. So because it's not actually in your presence, his intention now is for himself to be able to help you. I'm 99% sure I saw that, but let me just make sure. Yeah, here it is in the Mishnah Berurah. If you send them ahead of you, and you don't walk with them, even though they're going for you, that's not called that they're doing it for you. And then once they lit it, you can come and benefit from it. All right? So you just have to know what to do, that's all. It's like a good lawyer. It's the same thing. You just have to do it in the right order, in the right way, and then then all is good. Okay. I'm going to read number 56 in the English because it looks interesting. See footnote 16 regarding the obligation to admonish a non-Jew to relate the above to a contemporary issue. A Jew and a non-Jew were about to enter a place whose doors or lights operate electronically. I'm reading number 56 in the English. If the non-Jew is merely accompanying the Jew for the Jew's sake, the Jew may not follow the non-Jew through the door. If, however, the non-Jew was going for his own purposes and opened the electronic door because he needed to do this for his own purposes, the Jew is permitted to follow him. Siman Yitzchak. Nice heter. Nice heter.
So you follow after?
You need to go into the hospital, but it's an electronic door. So you can't tell a passing guy, I need to get in, figure it out, then he'll walk with you. Because then his whole purpose of walking is for you. So when it opens, it's really considered for you. Instead, wait till somebody's going in anyway. He's going in anyway. You can benefit once he's going in.
The guard coming up and the door because you're open to everybody. It's his job. It doesn't matter if you're not, it is open for everybody.
I don't know.
I think the doorman, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's allowed. Maybe he's like a Koblin.
It's not
You
for
didn't
you,
tell him.
it's just for the building. It's part of his what he paid for.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't do it personally. I don't personally. I mean, Baruch Hashem, I don't have many hospital situations, but there's a lot of buildings that have that. If I go to Shalom Zachar or whatever, the guards, they right away open for you. But I don't, I ask them, is there a side door? Is there a side door you could open for me? Because I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But the lamp that the shifcha, the maid, is lighting to wash the dishes, even though she's washing the dishes for the Jew, at the time she's lighting it, you're not benefiting from the light. She's benefiting to be able to wash the dishes, which is her job. You're benefiting, but by the time you come to your next meal, you're going to have clean dishes. That's more indirect than her benefiting to be able to do her job. So that's why you're allowed to benefit from that lamp after. She is, your kalim are going to be cleaned, and that's her job. But it's considered she's lighting it for herself. First of all, you don't have to stop her. And second of all, you're allowed to use that light because it's considered that she did it for herself. You can also tell her not to turn it off. That's correct. That is correct. All of the above that we've been learning, that if he does it for himself, you're allowed to benefit, or if he does it for other Gentiles or for majority Gentiles, all of that is by a candle. When it comes to a fireplace, if he does it for himself, or for a sick person, even if his person is deathly ill. Also, a Jew cannot heat himself by it. Maybe he'll add more wood if the Jew would be allowed to use it. That's not like a candle. There's no suspicion. Here's the principle. Ner le'echad, ner le'mea. The one candle that's good for one is just as good for 100. 100 people can use the same candle. So therefore, if he lights it for himself, we're not worried you're going to ask him to light another one for you, because you can use the same one, no problem. Not so when it comes to a fireplace. The more people there are that want the heat, you have to make a bigger fire to allow the heat to reach the more people. Now, if he heats up a room, like Beis HaChayr, if he calls it. Let me read the English for this one, actually. If, however, a non-Jew heated a winter home for his own sake, or for the sake of a sick person, a house that is well insulated with a furnace to warm it, it is permitted for the person to go from an unheated home to the winter home to warm himself. There is no concern the non-Jew to warm him for the same heating that warms one and warm 100. So if it's a fireplace where the heat is going, you know what I'm saying, it's spreading only a certain amount, so then we're afraid he might add to spread the heat. If it's like a heating system that heats a room, then there's no difference. You heat the room, you turn the temperature up. There's no difference how many people are in the room. So in that case, you would be allowed to enter that room. It's not considered a forbidden benefit. Some allow it even by fireplace. We don't decree that maybe he'll add, because even if he wouldn't add, you would get some benefit. Even though by adding more, you'll get more benefit. This small difference is not enough to make a decree. That'll add more for it. According to this opinion, even if he's sitting by the fire and he's enjoying life, the Jew comes along, sits next to the fire, and the goy sees that he's sitting there, and he adds specifically for the Jew. Nevertheless, according to this opinion, you don't have to leave, because the fact is you did have some benefit, and what he's giving you is only a little bit extra, and we're not going to decree that you're going to tell him to do it next time for that little bit extra. The same thing. If it's not that he lit it for himself on Shabbos, but it was already lit from before Shabbos, and he comes along and adds for the Jew, but it was already lit, so just a bit more heat, you're allowed to benefit according to this opinion. In any case, if he's using your wood, you have to stop him, because, like we said, whenever he uses your stuff, you have to stop him. But in any case, according to this opinion, if you didn't stop him, you're allowed to benefit.
That's my time. Jew go on a fast. Anyway, go to the bunch. Just only go. Most majority is going. Besides my time, this thing is.
Not really.
Doesn't have to say.
Just Marasayan. Not Shabbosdik. Not Shabbosdik.
Fire is Jewish.
I mean, even in the Jewish home, yes. Even in the Jewish home. In the non-Jewish home, for sure. But even in the Jewish home, where he's specifically doing it for you, but because you already had a permissible fire to benefit from, either because he did it for himself or because he was there from before Shabbos, so the added benefit is not so great that you would ask him to do it for you.
What was he saying? Wood, fire.
Oh, if he brings his own wood, then you don't have to stop him from doing it. But if he's using your wood, then you would have to stop him. But even if you didn't, you don't have to. You're still allowed to benefit. This opinion. If necessary, you could rely on their opinion to be lenient about rabbinic matters. Okay, now we're going to learn what we mentioned before about benefiting when there are two candles and then one of them goes out. Let's say when he lit it, Yudalit. When he lit it, or when he added the fire, there was wood that was burning that you're allowed to benefit from, either because he did it for himself before or because it's from before Shabbos. But then that wood is gone, and now all that's left burning is what he added for you. Same sort of thing if there was already a lamp burning, which he had lit for himself, or was there from before Shabbos, or he lit it for a sick person that he's allowed to. And now it goes out. Sorry, now he lit a second one for you. Now the first one goes out. In all these cases, you can only use it as long as the first one was lit. After it goes out, you can't. Let's say it's running low on oil. He adds oil. You cannot benefit once the first oil was used up. And some argue on this. They allow it whether for a lamp or for a fireplace. At the time that the first candle is lit,
We didn't mention anything about it.
now we do, now we are.
No, but the God says you didn't.
Previously, we said you can use the second one.
Yeah, but
If-
it didn't say,
Now we're explaining. You can only use it while the first one is lit, not
Which
afterwards.
safe it was?
It was in the beginning. Actually, I don't see it.
yeah, I know, but I remember we mentioned this.
We mentioned in Ches about if there's already one that you can't allow him to light more. But We must have just mentioned it outside. But in any case, the point is, and some argue on this. And they allow it, whether with a fire, whether with a candle, whether with any oil. And they say, even though if it belongs to Jew. Since at the time that he did it, you were allowed to benefit, it never goes out of its heather. Even after the first wood is finished, the first candle, the first oil. Basically, if it's aser, it's aser the whole time. If it's mutter the whole time. They don't make, according to this opinion, the Chachamim didn't say, well, this is going to be mutter in the beginning and then aser later on. If there was no chalois, like there was no kind of stamp of Isser when he did it, they're not going to make it aser later. This is what we mentioned before. In that case of great need, for example, when the pleasure of Shabbos is dependent on it, we said it before, if there was already one lamp and there's no heter to ask a goy to light a second lamp, even according to the iter, because you don't need it, because you already have one enough. Nevertheless, if he did, you're allowed to benefit even after the first one goes out, because you need it for Enig Shabbos. You need it for the pleasure of Shabbos. Same thing here. If it's a situation that it's Enig Shabbos, then you can rely on them to be lenient.
In a place that you're allowed to go to light the candle, that was the oil one. You're allowed to keep adding oil to it.
Is he allowed to? He's not allowed to. Nobody says he's allowed to. And you have to stop him if he does. The question is, can you benefit?
No, it's already the candles of the lit the candle.
Yeah.
Okay? And he didn't listen to it. But now he wants to be sure that the flame staying on, so keep adding oil from time to time.
Why aren't you stopping him? I don't understand.
You don't see it.
So what's the question?
Is you're allowed to continue enjoying it? But you know, if you listen, was the oil was there for 2 hours, it's already like 10 hours after. For sure, somebody adding oil, they're allowed to continue enjoying it.
It's difficult out there. It's difficult out there. He's adding when he adds oil, and the oil, I don't know actually, maybe it is allowed. Because each time he adds, he's adding to oil that's permissible. Maybe it is allowed.
Could be the same as adding wood to the fire.
We can define what is the old and new. So then it should be us in general then, because you cannot differentiate it.
Right.
We can't differentiate from the old and new, and you should be
Just
safe.
make it better.
What does the Rav saying
What?
regarding the oil?
As long as mixed with
It says it's talking about
should be okay.
using the oil lamp. You can't differentiate from the old oil to the new oil.
She's adding oil to showers.
I think it's okay. I think it's okay. My photo is that it's okay.
To add oil?
No, if he added,
It's okay?
you have to stop it. But if he already added, I just sent you a link, Yaakov, for the ballet there. Okay. Again, I'm not talking about allowing him to do it. You're not allowed. He's not allowed to do it. You have to stop it. But if he did it, I don't think it becomes aser, because at any point, as long as it was mutter up to that point, it's not going to become aser because there's already mutter oil. Each time it's mutter. Each time it's mutter. So it would seem. Okay. 15. Very important halacha. This is where the whole concept of the Shabbos Goy came from, my friend. Where does the Shabbos Goy come from? It comes from this halacha. Halacha is, if you are in a country where it gets very cold, you're allowed to ask a Goy to light the fire or to add wood to the fire that's dying out. Because if you don't, your house is going to get very cold. And hakoil choilem eitzel tzina. This is the principle. Everybody is considered sick when it comes to cold. Extreme cold will make people sick. Just like you're allowed to tell a Goy to do malacha for a sick person. You're allowed to tell a Goy to do malacha so a person shouldn't become sick. Why do you have to wait for him to become sick and tell a Goy to do malacha? Just tell him to do the malacha before he becomes sick. Much simpler. So that's why they used to have Goyim that were the official Shabbos Goyim for the purpose of heating homes. Remember, they didn't have gas ovens. They didn't have electric heaters. They had coals and they had wood. And there's only so much that you can put in the oven before Shabbos. And after that, it dies down. Comes morning, it's starting to get cold. You need a human being. This is in the olden days, you need a human being to actually put in new wood. And it was allowed because it was very cold. And if not, people would catch a cold. So this is what he says in Tezvav. But he does point out that it's not a blanket heter. It depends on the day and on who's in the house. If it's not so cold and you don't have young kids in the house who are fetching and going to get very cold, then you can't do it. You have to. It's a case-by-case basis. It's not a blanket heter. Now, if it's a case that it's not so cold and he comes to do it and he is using your wood, you have to stop him. And if you didn't stop him, you're not allowed to use that heat.
What about in Florida when you go below 50? It's very cold.
Whatever. Doesn't happen. Extreme heat. Oh, extreme heat. That's a Moshe. Let's first finish this and we'll discuss. Now, if he heated up a winter room, meaning to say a room that has a heating system in it, for the Jews, from the Jewish using their wood, you're not allowed to go in it, but if that's where you live, you don't have to leave it, like we said before. Okay. Let's finish up Tez Zayin and Yud Zayin, and we'll discuss what you were bringing up, Emmanuel, about air conditioning, if we have time, or else next time. Now we know that the case that we said you don't have to leave your house is only if you didn't tell him to do it. You didn't tell him to do it. He did it on his own. Okay, shouldn't have done it. You should have stopped him. You didn't stop, but you didn't tell him. You don't have to leave the house. But if you told him, you have to leave the house rather than benefit. Now, what if he is...
The bite is mine. They just make it also to me to stay here.
No, by telling him, you made it also. That's the whole point. If you didn't tell him, then exactly, you don't have to leave. But if you told him, then it's your problem. If you didn't tell him, you don't have to leave. But if you told him, you have to leave. Now, what if he is your worker that does it during the week?
Yeah.
And he comes and he does it on Shabbos, and you didn't stop him, but you didn't tell him, then you don't have to leave. Because after all, you didn't tell him, even though you should have stopped him. Now, now, if a person is being lenient and he's allowing the guy to heat up the house even though it's not so cold, even though he shouldn't be allowing it, but better not to tell him not to because he's probably not going to listen anyway. Now, even on a very cold day, you shouldn't allow the goy to heat it twice. You heat it before Shabbos. You allow him to come in the morning to heat it again. But at Shabbos afternoon, you shouldn't allow him to do it another time because big deal. It's getting a bit cold. It's not going to be terrible. However, the Alter Rebbe says it really depends on the level of cold, on that house, on how long the heat lasts. A wise man's eyes see from the outset. How does he explain that here? 80. Today, when heating device can be controlled in timers and the like, these words of counsel remain relevant. We need to say, instead of relying on this heter, put the heater on a timer if you don't want it on the whole time, and work it out. Even though there could be a heter, if necessary, to use a goy, but you should try to work it out without that. Okay, so Rav Moshe says that just like extreme cold it can cause illness, extreme heat can also cause illness, heat stroke. And therefore, if it's a situation of extreme heat, Rav Moshe says, you're allowed to tell a goy to do even a Torah level violation. I'm not talking about a rabbinic level violation. Torah level violation. That means the air conditioning broke. And to fix it involves Torah level fixing a machine. So if it's a situation of extreme heat, I'm talking about, Florida summer, July, August, whatever it is, there's room to allow it. There's room to allow it. Now, if it's not extreme, according to the poskim that electricity is only d'Rabbanan, so you could ask him to adjust the temperature. You understand? If it's a great need, mitzvah, you're having a lot of guests, whatever, so that's to adjust the temperature, because that would be a double d'Rabbanan. To actually fix the unit, that would be a Torah level, that would only be in a case of extreme heat.
That's what I was going to say.
No, it's still d'Rabbanan.
The brick.
Yeah, I don't think it's d'Rabbanan.
So you can actually.
It's not a real repair.
Let me ask you, let's say you cannot find the code. Machinery to move the breaker.
Yes.
It's very hard.
In extreme heat, you can pick up the phone, you can call a company. And
so, Tana, you go to your neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry? What did you say?
I was going to say, the extreme situation, so you can pick up the phone, you call one of these companies and say, come out, or is there a more shinui way of doing that, I guess? Should one,
no, I wouldn't.
Just pick up the phone and call, like,
say you should call the phone.
Like if you were calling a medical.
On Shabbos? No.
So how do you get the boy to come and fix it?
Tell your neighbor to call. Tell your goyish neighbor to call.
That's what I was going to say. So you tell your goyish neighbor to call.
Tell your goyish neighbor.
So it's analogous to a medical emergency.
Or for that matter, if it happens Friday afternoon, place the call, even though you know they're going to do it on Shabbos. If it's a situation of great heat. But you shouldn't call yourself. I mean, you could say, well, people are going to get sick. First of all, I'm not talking about deathly illness. We're not talking about deathly illness.
Kids and old people are more susceptible.
Yeah, but even so, we're not talking about death. When he says everybody is sick, we're talking about to prevent sickness. We're not talking about to prevent death. To prevent death, chas v'shalom, you do whatever you need to do. We're talking about to prevent illness. To prevent illness, a Jew is not allowed to do malacha, even the Rabbanan. Death, yes, chas v'shalom, but not illness. So that you can't call directly. You get the goy to call. Okay, my friends, there may be some loose ends that we still need to talk about the Siman, and if so, I will look it over and look it over and try to tie them up next week. But Amir Hashem, other than that, we will be moving on with 306.
Are we going to do 275 tonight?
I'm sorry?
Were we going to do 275 tonight also, or should we just do that on our own?
Did I say 275? What happened to 275?
I thought we were doing that also.
Let me have a look at that one. Tasks forbidden to be performed on Shabbos by glow of Shabbos lights. No, we're not going to do 275. Sorry. If I said that, it was a mistake.
Okay, thanks.
We're just going to 276. And next one is, I think we're going to do a little bit of 305. and then 306 and 307, parts of them as well. And yes.
Yeah, you're going to see each other again.
On Tuesday, it's good. They're a good Shabbos already on Tuesday.
It was Tuesday night. It's already Wednesday. All right, gentlemen. Have a good night wherever you are, or good morning if you're holding by that. Refuah shlema, Yoram. Refuah shlema.
Amen. You too. Thank you so much.
You get a chance to